Podcast. It's the first part of our 2025-26 Girls on Tour series. So for those of you who didn't check out last year, let me explain how it's going to work. So last year, at the end of last year's Takeover Tour, me and Pearl, we watched all 9 stops back, and then we did our general thoughts on them. We also picked out some highlights each, and that's what we did for an episode of the show last year. Now, we did that again this year, but we did it a little bit differently. So this year we decided we're not going to bother trying to pick out hearts, because we're going to talk about the games in general and take it from there. Now, in the post-production, it was proving to be quite a lengthy episode when I was putting all the parts together and the intro and outro. It was coming up to about 4 hours. I thought, no, I can't do that to you guys. No way could I make you sit and listen through a 4-hour show. That's just insane. No way, that's not really fair to you guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into 4 separate episodes which are more manageable. Okay? So here's how it's going to work. In each episode, you're going to hear me, Pearl Lady, go through 4 stops back to back to back. And then at the end, I will come on and do the outro. Okay? So on this episode, we're going to go through the first 4 stops of the tour. So that was December 17, Halifax, December 21 in Chicago, December 27 Edmonton, and then December 28 in Dallas. Those are the 4 stops we're going to go through today. Okay? So, hang tight, go get yourself some drinks if you need them, and when we come back, we'll get started with our thoughts on the first part of the 2025-26. Halifax, and oh, what a start to the tour. What a game. What a game we got treated to kickstart our tour on December 17. Victoire Acceptors. What? And a city that I've not heard before. I've never heard of Halifax as a city before. The only Halifax I've heard of before the tour was obviously the Bank Halifax, although it's no longer going to be a bank. Yeah, just recently it has been announced that the bank that I bank with, which I'm not going to say with on the show, because obviously that's personal, GDPR and all that, but the bank that I bank with has just taken over Halifax, and all of Halifax's branches are going to get turned into branches for my bank. Yeah, it's just very recently been announced. So before this year's tour, I had only heard of Halifax the bank, not the city, but what a corporate game. So Victoire 2, Acceptors 1 in a shootout. The packed crowd at Scotiabank Centre got a thrilling overtime battle in the first stop of the PWHL Takeover Tour. Montreal's Marie-Philippe Poulin and Amélie Desbiens made the difference in the shootout. Captain Clutch scoring and Desbiens blocking all the attempts to seal. Blocking all 5 attempts to seal the deal. I want to really hurt that crowd, by the way, because Halifax's arena, it can't hold that many people. It can only hold up to 10,000 people. Yeah. But they did very well. 10,438. And then in the second stop, they got a tiny increase, but I'll come back to that. Yeah, of course. Yeah, come back to that. Yeah. But I just want to go straight to that overtime because, oh my god, I think in all my 17 years of being involved in hockey, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. I've never in a million years have I, and we're quite a head scratching moment as well, never in a million years do I think I've seen a goal get called back because a penalty had just been taken. Yeah, and in overtime as well. It's very, very rare overtime for a goal to get called back. Mainly because you don't really see challenges being allowed in the overtime. It has to be initiated by, basically CSR in this case. Yeah. But it's just, the whole sequence is so bizarre. I mean, it was like, what happened? I know, right? Because literally, it all happened so fast. Emma Tate was literally on the breakaway, and she literally beat Desbienne. If you watch it back, Malte clearly beats Desbienne and to go 5-hole. But Renata Fast got called for an interference. She got called for interference, and I bet everyone's thinking, oh, Renata! You just... Oh, if you hadn't done that, we would have won! We would have got the 2 points, they have won! Oh, you silly girl! What have you done? Better looking back at that one. Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. Yeah, just like crazy. And it was just such like a really tightly contested game. You kind of felt, okay, this might go the full distance. Although there's plenty of moments where it couldn't have gone. I mean, oh, no, at the end when Blair Turnbull. Oh, if that had gone there, that would have been a huge difference maker. Oh, dear. That would have been some way to start the tour. Yeah. But I just felt the second period and third period was too much back and forth marking. Really? Yeah, just too much. I mean, how many opportunities did Montreal have on the power play? 4, 5 at least. I lost count. I mean, there's a player in Halifax, even the second game, which I'll come back to you on. Halifax, they just had no discipline. It was penalties galore. And I felt if Montreal had managed to find a way to put one of those pucks in the back net on the power play, that would have changed everything. Yeah, but Tio's penalty kill, you have to give him praise for that, was just like rock solid. Especially how special teams hadn't really worked out that well for the Sectors this year, which is surprising compared to what we saw last year when the power play was literally red hot as we did not want out to face. Yeah. The other thing that's interesting though is how in the lone goal scorers for both sides of regulation were both players who got their first goals on their new teams. Yeah. Because these two have just been involved in a trade. Yeah. What is it with Tio playing against teams that have just been involved in a trade with? Because this time last year when they had that big trade, they played, I think it was like 24 hours afterwards. Then you got now this season with Toronto Montreal. It's like, it's like, what is it that Tio loves about playing against teams that just bubble a trade like literally like a day or two afterwards? It's just like crazy. So Kate Willoughby, she's done really well this year with the Victoria. Alright, yeah. Especially when they played at CTC. That's incredible, yeah. And that secondary depth scoring that we need to see from teams was very much on display here. Yeah, okay, Captain Clutch, she did get game winner, but I think we're talking about the regulation scoring, really good. You saw, goals from players you would expect to see get goals. So that's really good. But oh wow, this was a firecracker, and what a great way to kickstart the tour. A real battle. These are two fierce rivals. So much star power on their rosters, and they just came alive. They literally just stole the show. Like literally stole the show. It was just brilliant to watch. But brilliant to watch. I just felt the first period was great. Second and third was just too much back and forth. Like, really? Really? Just too much. I mean, this really, I feel like should have been a lot more. I think this might should have been like a 3-2 or 4-3 scoreline. Because both teams had plenty of chances. It's just they weren't going in the back of that. Yeah, well. I'll tell you what also was a big standout I want to talk about. Oh, here we go. Okay. Honestly, this game had happened not long after Heated Rivalry had been released. In fact, should we look at what episode was at the time released? Oh, here we go. Because honestly, during the first intermission, we had a very big star guest for Rob Peter to interview during that first intermission, and I absolutely couldn't believe that this was happening. Because obviously at the time, we in the UK could not get Heated Rivalry. We didn't know if we were going to get Heated Rivalry. We didn't find out if we were going to get Heated Rivalry until after Christmas. That's when we found out we were going to get it. And of course, we got it in January of this year. I have now watched all 6 episodes of the first season. And our brand new spin-off, dedicated to Game Changers, is now up and running. and you're now officially out. I'm now publicly out, and all that. Really great stuff. Yeah, so if you love Game Traders, go and check out that spin-off that we've now got out available. Cool. So at the time, episode 4 had just been released. So they hadn't got. So at that point, only the first 4 episodes had been released. So we hadn't got to the big Scott Kit moment yet. It was only just had the first 4 reps. But the fact that Rachel Reid was there, being interviewed, was in a Victoire jersey, if I remember rightly, and the fact she was being interviewed by our Pizzo about the PWHL was just absolutely brilliant. And then, of course, she was at the other Halifax game as well. Brilliant. Yeah. So that was just like... And that just made me even... Because obviously, in the run-up to this game, I had heard about Key Bribery. It literally been blasted on my timeline. Everyone was talking about it. And I was like, I really want to watch this. Because obviously, you know, for various reasons. Yeah. And this has been maybe gagging even more for it. But yeah, so... That was just incredible, you know. I'd love to see more celebrity murders like that at the PWHL. You know. It just shows that there are people out there, you know, who know about the league and want to be involved. So that was just incredible. Yeah, obviously, I couldn't believe that to the first intermission. And now it's incredible. Yeah. Yeah. So that was just wow. Couldn't believe that. Could not believe that. So that was brilliant. So I really wanted. I know it's not related to the games. I know it's not related to the games itself, but I just wanted to also bring that as well, because that was like a bit. And I would have thought later in the season we would then get the director Jacob Tierney then coming up at the Scepter's Prime Night, and then he goes and does the first intermission interview. Well, they try to get season 2 spoilers out of it. Yeah. But I think all they got was a release window. They're hoping it's going to be spring of 2027. The 7th book comes out in June 2027. Yeah. Originally the 7th book was going to come out in the autumn of this year, but it's now been moved to June of next year. But if you can get the second season out in spring, that's a good prelude to the next to the book then coming out afterwards. That'd be good. That'd be really good. Yeah, I thought this is a really great game. I thought Halifax, I remember watching this because I wasn't being too confident about Halifax, you know, hosting this at all. I mean, it was very remote. I found there was a lot of team issues, like the sound system. Yeah, they couldn't work out when to turn on the sound system on and off. And if you watch the replay, it then gets a bit messy, because obviously we've got to have the music over the copyright. Yeah! I didn't notice that. Yeah, I have noticed that a few times. Yeah, but Halifax, it was really bad. Yeah, and also kind of felt the PA system wasn't as clear enough, because we couldn't really hear the calls that were being made. So I kind of felt at the time, like thinking, well, Halifax haven't really done a good presence so far, but don't worry, you've got a second one in the new year. We'll work it out there. Right? You can make it a good impression, but... Yeah, I just kind of felt I wasn't really too blown away by Halifax's hospitality in that first one, which was going to then put the pressure on the Charlton Fleet, who were then going to go in the new year and have to do that. But all in all, this was an absolute firecracker of a game, and I'm not surprised that we went the 40s into a shootout. But oh my god, were there moments the Steps are going to look back on and think, oh, we almost had that! We almost had that. I'm not sure if that would have changed much in terms of standings, if everything else then played out the way it did, but I think Scepters fans are going to look back on it and think, oh, we could have had that one. We could have had that one. We could have had that one. But hey-ho. It's a lot to learn curve. But honestly, a great game. And it's actually your first time watching the PWHL. That, I think, was a great advert for our sport. A great advert for our league. Absolutely. A great advertisement for our league, as it was Victoire 2, Scepters 1 in a shootout. Stop November 21st, Chicago. And the first Takeover Tour stop for your Minnesota Frost this season, the first of 3. Sadly, though, it was the Ottawa Charge who came away as the victors. So it was Ottawa Charge at your Minnesota Frost, and it was Charge 3, Frost 2 in overtime. Yeah, I think we were lucky to go away with that. Yeah, all 3 of us then kind of felt we are so lucky to call anything out of that. We just didn't play well. Yeah. I honestly was not happy with the buzzer beater. I was not happy with the buzzer beater. Okay. So the PWHL Takeover Tour rolled in Chicago, where an excited arena. I'll definitely stop at that, George. In fact, I'm gonna at that. Excited arena, my ass. It was treated to some extra hockey. The Charge took down the Frost in a power play laden matchup, with Sarah Worswick scoring the all-important overtime winner. Yeah, discipline went all over the place in this game. Now, we know the Charge this season have been famous for that, but we too. Did both teams get a power play, or was it just Ottawa? No, both did. Ours was to tie the game up at 2. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Go on, Pluto, get out of your system now. Go on. Ciao, Felicia. Get out of your system. Go on. Well, I've said it plenty of times, and I'm going to keep saying it again until the cows come home. Chicago, I am very, 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 very disappointed with your attendance numbers. I am. I mean, 7,000! It was. I'll give you the exact number. We may as well do this for every stop. I'll give you the exact number, because I have still got the document. It was 7,238. So roughly 7,200. And how many people can fit that many, George? Roughly, I don't know the exact figures, but roughly 60,000. Yeah. It's very big for an AHL facility. It's very big for an AHL facility. I think it's one of the biggest in the Western Conference, and I think next year Hamilton will have the biggest in the Eastern Conference of the AHL. But yeah, it's very big for AHL. But the Wolves are a perennial playoff contender, so it's not that much. But seriously though, this was a World Cup Finals rematch, and just 7,000. Yeah. Now, some people might try and use, it's the holidays, but fast forward to Easter weekend. We had the Charge pack out Canadian Tire Centre on Good Friday, and the Sirens sell out every seat in Madison Square Garden on Easter Saturday. So, Chicago, what was your excuse? Especially the day after the Christmas break, Edmonton got 10,000 people. Well, that will be coming next, won't we? Yeah. So it's because Edmonton and Dallas happened back to back. I get confused which one happened before. We're next. We're next. But honestly, it's so great for Kendall to get the opportunity to play in her hometown. That is a huge heart for me. Because we know she's an Illinois native. This was going to be a huge moment for her. It would have been so great to have got that win. But for her to have opportunity to play in her hometown. That's what makes it even more irritating. You've got a living legend of the game. It's a hometown. Homecoming for her. Only 7,000 people show up. Yeah, not great. Especially when the tour details were announced. Not long after my birthday. I remember thinking, on paper, Chicago's got everything they need to be an expansion team. So while Lady had Calgary circled, I had the 2 Chicago dates circled, because I kind of felt, if we're looking at future expansion, this is the market I would think you'd look at and think, this is the one that needs to be really tested. Because we know Detroit is a dead cert. In fact, Detroit was a lock. Denver, you also think should be seen as a dead cert for expansion. So we were thinking about who should be those other two markets to take us to 4. Chicago was the one that I kind of felt was the one that had a lot to prove, because if they could do it right, then they could really put us on to the conversation. I mean, they had literally just opened a new practice facility literally downtown. Please don't do the song! I won't do the song. Please don't do the song. I can't do the song. I only know one line. Don't sing it! I won't sing it! Still bloody hot for me to do a sing song. Won't do it. Yeah, so never mind him being disappointed. I was really let down because I felt, you know, this could have been a brilliant market for expansion, and yet, well, you've just proven me wrong. Especially if we're thinking about telly deals. If we're trying to get that national telly deal, Chicago, like California, is a very big market. So, good we've got California ticked off, but Chicago also could have been a huge market that could have really helped get that telly deal over the line. I think it's coming. I think the telly deal's coming. It's just, you know, the league needs to go about and take its time, make sure to get it done right. But I think it is on the horizons. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it was right. Despite the loss, it was a thrilling game. It was a thrilling game. It's just the problem was, obviously, you know, we lost. And given how we were really finding our stride back then, we didn't really lose that many games in December. This is the last day before the dreaded Christmas holiday. And we knew we were going to come straight back into it after the break was over, or another Takeover Tour game. You know, it just kind of stung, really. Yeah, especially, you know, we didn't really play that well. That buzzer beater really got to me. Because we just managed to get the game tied. And then, I don't know, a buzzer beater happens, and it's like, oh! Back to where we were at the start of the fucking period! Yeah, it's like, get your act together here, ladies! But, you know, but I'm not surprised with the OT. But I think all three of us, as I said at the start of this segment, we all just kind of felt, you know, we were so lucky to come away with at least a point. So lucky to come away with at least a point. And I kind of felt that result really kind of, you know, turn the tide for our, you know, getting that spark. Because the Charge had a miserable start to the season. And then this game rolls around, and then it was like a spark lit. This kind of was the fuse that lit, that got them going, working magically in OT. Because in the previous two seasons, I had not been going overtime. Yeah, in seasons 1 and 2, if you took the Charge to overtime, you were pretty much guaranteed to get the extra point. This year, they turned it around very big. They turned it around. So I'm going to be interested to see next season to keep that up. And this game tied it. This was the match that struck the fuse. Oh, now who's quoting song lyrics? Right, now who's quoting song lyrics? What song's that from? Debbie Lovato got Dynamite. From her second album. I think is her best album. We're going there. For me, I feel like that's her best album because it's just literally I can listen to every single one of those songs. I could just listen to all of them. I think it's her best album. Didn't she also put Speak Uncle Sonny on that album? Yes. She did. Yeah. Yeah. So there is a full version of So Far So Great out there for you, boy. Why did that not run for longer? I know. Especially as the last episode was kind of a bit of a weird, because it didn't really feel like a series finale. It didn't even feel like a season finale. Anyway, yeah. So this was a really high-octane game, despite the loss. And what was so disappointing was, you know, not many people came out to it. And for me, the impression Chicago gave to me in that game was, you know, can't be arsed. Well, I said, you can't be arsed, then I don't want you anywhere near my league. I've said to people time and again, But it comes to Takeover Tour. If you get given a Takeover Tour game, you've got to make the most of it. You've got to treat it as if it's your once in a lifetime opportunity. You know? Because not every market is going to get a second go. So, and Chicago, you had two games on the tour this year. And you just, in the first one, you made a very bad impression. And this really, given how the second one was literally like the week after we got back from Lopez, that put a lot of pressure on the Torrent Sirens game that's going to happen later in the tour. That put so much pressure on it. It really did. It really did. So the high-flying game, either Chicago couldn't be bothered to come out and see it, which saw the Charge come out as the 3-2 overtime winners over our Frost. Stop 3, Edmonton, and the first ever meeting between your Minnesota Frost and the Vancouver Guys. World War Treat, eh? World War Treat, to the first of our first matchups with these two teams to be on the Takeover Tour. We did still get to have two bits to Pacific Coliseum though. I know when the Takeover Tour got announced and we were going to be against Vancouver, that confused you, didn't it, with board? But we all got clear in the end. It all got clear in the end. But yeah, what's a frigging... Yeah, just, wow, history in action. Yeah, just history in action there. And roughly we had about 10,264 show up for that game. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Because Edmonton had been a bit fickle for the two Rugby Series games that happened earlier in the month. And of course, obviously, I talked to you about that on the podcast, George, you did. And I talked about how Edmonton was kind of, Flynn was kind of for Puku at K2, the attendance numbers was one of them during a weekday. Yeah, I think one of them was on during a weekday and the other was on a Saturday. So, yeah, so I can understand the lackluster in terms of attendance there. But it was just, But I was hoping, I said this to George on the podcast, I was hoping that the Rugby Series would make him want to come down to the Takeover Tour. Because if you really want to see women's hockey in your city, then I kind of felt we need to do an episode on that this year about how Everton made this big push that's not been rewarded. I need to do an episode on that. Would you be too up for it? Oh yeah. Kind of felt like we should have done during the season, especially following after Takeover Tour, but anyway, we'll add that to the list. Because we do think Everton would be a good city for the Takeover Tour. To become a permanent resident. When we think about Takeover Tour markets should become permanent residents, Everton is one of those, like Denver. But there's other reasons why Everton will not work. So Frost 2, Golden 1 in overtime. So the next stop on the Takeover Tour was Edmonton, where fans were treated to a tightly contested battle between Minnesota and Vancouver. Emmons Mashmeyer, an Alberta native, returned home and put on a spectacular performance, stopping 33 shots, but Taya Heisey managed to get one past her in overtime, busting her slump and scoring her first goal of the year. And it was one of those delayed reactions. I kind of felt like the 3 years we've watched PWHL, there's been most every now and then where we kind of have like a delayed reaction to a goal. And I don't know if that's because we watch these games on YouTube. But even took the broadcasting team by surprise. So that's when you know you've got a highlight reel goal for the season, where not only is the fans at home watching taken by surprise, but also the broadcasters broadcasting the game also get taken by surprise. But that was such a beautiful goal. What a way to get her first goal of the season. But while she had been struggling. The team as a whole had been doing really, really well. It was just, you know, she just couldn't select point very far away to try and get on the score sheet, and yet when she did get on the score sheet, she just tried it up. It was just an incredible goal. It was just a game-winning goal. And again, it kind of felt like it was going to go full distance. Yeah, it just for me, I kind of felt, even though we don't like a shootout, we don't want a shootout, especially how the PHL shootouts are 5 rounds, guys. 5 rounds. I don't think we had a shootout game last year. This past season. Did we not? I don't think we did. Alright, and of course you've got them all down on your episode notes. I don't think this past season we had a single game in a shootout. Wow, lucky us, aren't we the lucky bastards? But for me, it just kind of felt like that way. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of go into a shootout, but luckily it didn't. I mean, it was close though, but wow. I kind of say Abby Hustler getting her goal was just like incredible, because it was a power play goal. And it was one of those penalties that Vancouver really should have taken, yeah, but it did anyway, yeah. And I thought, as you guys know, I am the stickler when it comes to the frost power play. Specialties is the one thing that our dear Pluto always points out when we're watching PWHL games, particularly it's the frost game, because he always feels like the power play is the one thing we need to work on every single year. Every single year. That's why when we were all doing our notes for that game in Denver, we were surprised that you praised the power play. Go watch it back, guys. It's on our sister show at the casino. Go watch that back. You look at the surprise. Yeah. But it's about to get that so quick on the power play was just brilliant, and it kind of felt, oh, is it going to be one of those, you know, high octane games where one team just dominates and just takes full control? But in the end, it wasn't, because Vancouver, you know, restored the goal restored the scoreline very quickly. Also, or was it Vancouver? Was it us? Yeah, because literally, right, obviously, was it Daniel? Yeah. So Izzy Daniel scores, she gets the equaliser not long after Abby Hustler gave us the lead. The announcer goes to announce the goal, and bear in mind we're in Edmonton, so it's the Oilers PA announcer, who, let's face it, has had a very, very busy 2 years, by the way, having to PA announce 2 miserable Stanley Cup Final appearances. Just saying, right? He then starts to announce, he goes, Minnesota goal, and straight at us we're like, no, it wasn't, no. It was like, oh, no, yeah. Like, no, it wasn't, Vancouver scored that goal. It was Vancouver who scored the goal. It was Vancouver. Oh, God, you were like, oh, yeah, that's a, oh. I mean, if it had been Denise Shisberg got our goal, fine, you could have made a mistake, but no, it wasn't. And he literally had to go, correction, Vancouver goal. We're like, how do you make that mistake? I don't think I've ever seen that before in 17 years. Although we're still in 2025, so it's still technically 60 at the time, George. Well, I'm going to say it, I don't... Yeah, but we're now in 2026 here, we're recording 2026, so it's 17. I don't think in 17 years of hockey, I've ever seen that happen before! In any level! It's like, how do you make that mistake? Yes, we're in a neutral site game, we're in a neutral site venue, but how do you make that mistake? You know? Vancouver clearly are in the home jersey, Minnesota clearly the road jerseys. Well, I think this is why we should not ever have colour on colour. Gary! In fact, Gary, this is why we should never have colour on colour in the AHL, alright? Okay? That was, and also, bad for my eyesight, it was Ukraine. you had to stop watching the stereo series because it was really hurting your eyes. It was. She just basically let it on for the rest of us, but you just couldn't stop. You had to go on YouTube for the rest of the game. It was really hurting my eyesight. Not that the NHL cares about people who are what I think the Yanks would call the differently abled. But here in Blighty, disabled. And they certainly don't care about the LGBT community either. Just like, but it's like, oh my god, how do you make that mistake? Like, seriously, how do you go about making a mistake like that? I do not know. So if you've checked the replay out, which of course we did, it's there. In all full glory. In all full glory, it's there. That mistake is right there. That's going to live rent-free on YouTube for the rest of his life. Oh my. How do you make a mistake like that? Like, seriously, how do you make a mistake like that, guys? Seriously. How? I've never seen that in 17 years of hockey. I've never seen that before. Yeah, but what I thought was interesting was after those 2 goals, which came quick one another, things then kind of, settled down. They kind of settled down, and it was kind of like, this is like a really competitive game. Yeah. I think it's better to say, both teams, after that 1-1 situation, both teams had plenty of opportunities to really get more goals to the board, but with the netminders, with match made for Vancouver, Rudy for us, and I think for Rudy this was her first win of the season. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was her first win of the season. So really, really good to her to get that under her belt, to get that confidence under her belt. Yeah, but it was literally about the netminders, and I kind of felt, I don't know about you two, I kind of felt like this game was trying to create a rivalry. Well, like I said at the top of the broadcast, it was the first ever match between these 2 teams. So, yeah, so I kind of just felt for me, I kind of felt we're trying to see the makings of a brand new rivalry here. Yeah. So I just felt it was just really good to see these really going head to head. It kind of felt we're giving in for some really good games against these two teams. Oh yeah, particularly the last 2. Oh wow! If Vancouver got that win over us in April, would that have changed things? Probably not. Maybe in goal plan. Might have been wouldn't have changed their position for playoffs, but it might have changed goal plan because they might have had 1 less game to get goal plan points than they actually did. But that was a game where you really thought, and we had to win that game regulation to get our playoff berth. Yeah. So yeah, Vancouver game. The last 2 games against Vancouver were super ultra competitive. I mean, kind of thought this is the goal I see that we wanted to see from you from day 1, not in the final few 4 weeks of the regular season. Yeah, so hopefully I'll build on that going into next year. But I thought this was a really exciting, thrilling game. And what a first game back after Christmas. Yep, this was the first game back for the Christmas break. Yeah. Also a very busy night for you because later on you had the Sharks taking on Vancouver. Yeah. That was a bit of a weird night for me because it was like a fairly sensible-ish time in the UK, and then about 3 AM I had the Sharks in Vancouver taking on the Canucks. So it was a bit of a wild night. So we got round to watching K-pop. Yeah, we did. We watched in between the 2 games. We did stay up late to watch K-pop Demon Hunters, and we really loved it. Yeah, really loved it. Is number 2 still going ahead or not? I don't know. I've lost track now, lady. Is the sequel still going ahead? No clue. No clue. No clue. Yeah, but I just felt that was a really. I just felt like it felt like you were trying to get a rugby brewing, but I felt it was more being done naturally rather than forced. Because in our sports league, you see them try to force rivalries left, right, so you think it just doesn't work. Whereas this I felt was more being developed naturally.
Plus, it will help the fact that there was a lot of Frost players who were Frost players last year, but are going to Vancouver this year. Whether that's by expansion draft or free agency. Yeah, because Cabba, who was Wall at the time, was a free agency, not expansion process. Whereas Jakes, Thompson, and McQuigg were all expansion process. And Abby Reid was also a former Frost player, but she was on the Big 12 where she got taken in the expansion process last year. So, yes. So there was about, I feel like at least 4 or 5 ex-Frost players, but that was from season 2 or season 1 on Vancouver's roster. But can you blame them for doing that? No, because if I was a GM of an expansion team, I would look at who was the previous World Cup finalists and just go there in terms of trying to pick who I'd want from my team to try and build that potential competitive roster going forward. Yeah, but I just thought this is a really good game. A really tightly fought game. I kind of felt like that both teams got something from it. But we were in that part of the season where it didn't matter, it went to OT. Yeah. Early in the season's fine to take an OT win, because it's still very early days. Teams are still trying to, find their groove. It's when you get more towards like the last 5 or 6 weeks of the regular season, that's when your mind has to start switching and go, no, it has to be 3 points or bust, because it makes all the difference between whether you are fighting for a playoff berth or you're fighting for draft order points. As we saw this year, the difference between Vancouver and Seattle getting that first overall pick, it was razor thin. Same with Montreal and Boston with the league crowd. The margins were just razor thin. So we can't get to those final 5-6 weeks of the season. That's when your mind has to start changing on how you see the points. But before that, you can sort of go, oh, well, that's fine. I know team win, yeah, that's fine, I'll take that. And I personally felt, I just felt this was a really tightly fought game. It kind of felt it had to go the full distance, so I wasn't too surprised. And I felt we needed to really bounce back, because our previous game before this was the Ottawa game in Chicago, and us really just collectively came with that, thinking we did not play as well as we could have done, and we were looking to get a point out of that, rather than no points at all, which would have been what rightfully deserved. So, to go away with winning this game was just really have a really good confidence boost. Plus I think we're starting a Canadian road trip. Yeah. So we then went to Tio to finish out 2025, and then we had the first team against 2026 was Ottawa, Montreal. Our first ever back-to-back. Our first ever back-to-back. And little did we know back then there was going to be another back-to-back in Arcadas. There was going to be another one. So, I really loved it. It was really good. It was a really good pick, and I felt it really set the tone for the future of this rivalry between the Frost and Golden Eyes. I do think give it a few more years, I think the Golden Eyes could be up there as one of our big rivals. Well, we are close to them. Not close to Milan to Tio. We could use our big rival. Yeah, but that's the fact we've beaten them in playoffs twice. Yeah, in consecutive seasons. So, I wouldn't mind getting to say the Golden Eyes are our rivals, because they do like Vancouver. It's a city that's going to be close to my heart, obviously, because that's where my journey started. The women's game, but yes, this is a really thrilling matchup. So so it was Frost 2, Golden Eyes 1 in overtime. Yes, right. Honestly, because obviously, the Edmonton Dallas games were back to back, so I just feel like, oh, I don't want to get them mixed up. Now, Edmonton was December 27, and Dallas was December 28. Yep. So December 28, Torrent at Sirens. What a goal fest this was at the AAC. So it was Sirens 4, Torrent 3. What a goal fest. In what was basically the Casey O'Brien show. So a rowdy Texas crowd was treated to a back and forth affair between Seattle and New York. Casey O'Brien scores the game winner, not only netting her first career goal, but adding 2 more to complete the hat-trick. So, did you feel this back and forth? Because I know back and forth is what you do bang on about a lot in this league. Did you feel this back and forth? No. You didn't feel... No, in terms of... no, because back and forth for me is a lot of net action going one way or the other with no goals in the back of the net. This was not back and forth. It was back and forth in terms of the lead changing, but no, but honestly, just crazy. I know. For me, it's really good that Casey O'Brien finally stepped up to the plate. I personally feel that she hasn't really had the best of seasons this year to start off, given how high promise she had, when she was drafted. I mean, I saw her as potentially to be the first overall draft pick. Of course, that did not happen. But yeah, so I just kind of feel she hasn't really, for me yet, proven why she is this big star player that we're all expecting to see from her the next few years. Of course, she didn't even get on to Team USA in the Olympics, whereas Gilday and Wynn did. And yet O'Brien still gets nominated for Rookie of the Year over those two. Yeah. It's never going to be anyone other than Wynn, was it, that got that award? No, but just say it, I know. Yeah, but obviously that hat-trick is just brilliant, yeah. I really loved how Seattle really brought the attack here. I mean, New York really were on the back burner for a lot of this game. A lot of this game, Seattle had the control. It's just unfortunately they couldn't sell Casey O'Brien. It happens a lot in this game. It happens a lot in this sport where there's this one player you just can't find a way to stop. In the NHL, it's Conor McDavid. And then in the PWHL, it's either Sarah Fillier or it's going to be somebody else. But I think Sarah Fillier is the big example there for the PWHL. Yeah. But brilliant work. And it just felt too much penalties for me in this game. What? The situation with Marino is so bizarre. Yeah. Because he takes... Yeah. So, try your best to explain because I can't make sense of it. So, she takes a penalty, finishes it, comes out the box, and it immediately goes back into the box because what? She touched the puck which was supposed to touch the puck which came out the box. Yeah. How's that her fault if the puck's just got near her peripheral area? What's she supposed to do? Do a little like, hopscotch around it? Yeah, it was bizarre. It was bizarre. What was even more bizarre was immediately after she comes out of the box for the second penalty, she goes and scores. So it's kind of like a bit of a redemption moment there for Maddie Wheeler. But yeah, it was a very bizarre sequence. It's something I don't think I've seen on the men's side with either the AHL or the AHL. But it was just so... Yeah, it was felt like, what's going on here? What's going on? Yeah. Yeah. But I kind of feel for Seattle, it must be so frustrating to have got this loss at regulation because you were the better team. For the majority of this game, you were the better team. Yeah. Well, the fact they got so close to tie up, I mean, if they had tied that game up, then I think they could have gone away with it, oh well, at least we've got a point out of it, rather than... Because this game can't... I think you'll see that. This is the kind of game you're going to look back and forth and think, oh, if only we could have gone out to overtime. Because then we could have maybe gone for the win, and that would have been 2 points in the bag. New York would have only got 1 instead of the full 3. Not that it changed anything in the overall picture we get to the end of the regular season, but at the time you're thinking, oh, it's fine margins. Yeah. Plus, New York was a team that Seattle really would find ways to get on one over. Yep. So they're far ways to get their number. Yep. So it just felt, you have to feel for them with that one. It was so close, like the dying second they had to just tie it, and then just the angles, the angles. It just all kind of it just went a bit apart. No, but in terms of attendance, when they say rowdy crowd, this is where I think, hold on a sec. Because Dallas only got... where is it? Oh, it's Dallas only got 8,514. Now that is only like, what, a grand more than what Chicago got in the first stop they had of the two. So, actually, And because obviously Chicago got 2 games, you add those together. So really, that is actually Dallas actually gets the unfortunate honour of being the lowest attended single stop on the tour. Because obviously Chicago in 2, you have to combine both attendances together. So that's not good. And we know how big of a state Texas is. We know it's probably the second biggest state after California. So you think maybe that's where the league will go next. But I don't think Dallas would be the answer. There are other places in Texas that might work, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, and they're going to be moving soon. The Stars, they are. So we'll see what happens there. A really great game though. Just I just thought if more could come out. What did Mary do? As an excuse, maybe. But what could have been more perfect Christmas present? Tickets to a Takeover Tour game to PWHL. I'd snap my right arm at that. That might get what's more excited for Christmas. Oh, dearie dear. But I thought it was a pretty good game. It was so hard-tamed. The goal, it's pretty much blinky miss. That's how it felt for me. Yeah, pretty much blinky miss. Yeah, it was a cracking game. Just shows the early signs of this new rivalry that I really do see coming the league's way. And it's just so excited to see. These 2 teams are going to be rivals whether they like it or not. Just like how we and Tio are rivals whether we like it or not. That's how I see it. Okay, so yeah, so Sirens 4, Torrent 3 in Dallas.
Okay, there we go. So that should help you get an idea of how these 4 episodes are going to work, okay? So, yeah, it's a lot better than making you guys sit for a 4-hour episode. It really is, trust me. Anyway. So guys, that is part 1 done and dusted. On the next installment, so on part 2, we're going to go through the next 4 stops. That would be the 2 double header days that we had on the Takeover Tour this year back in January. That's going to be what's going on next time. But until then, take care guys, and don't forget to fill the 3.